Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
And away we go. That's a new thing I'm working on. When you always love that, let's just leave questions.
I don't
walk right into that.
There are some. I'm not saying this is a good movie.
What?
That is finished Willem Dafoe. He looks just like Willem Dafoe.
I thought he looked very familiar.
Don't throw out a fact.
You are correct.
Butler, you should do some facts sometimes. Do some facts sometimes. Butler, don't take my
I'm pretty confident your brother doesn't listen to the Forgotten Cinema podcast, but if he does, boo.
Hello, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the film simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or perhaps don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
Woo!
That was all I got. So we are rounding out we're in the final stage of season 3.
Dun, dun, dun.
The penultimate episode.
That's right.
I don't even know if I said that right.
Get ready for a big cliffhanger for now.
Will Butler survive? Don't miss the last 5 minutes of ER. For those out there who watched ER, you probably know what that meant.
I like that you're connecting the ER because Clooney's in this and ER Clooney.
Yes,
nice.
That's exactly what I was doing. I, of course, am talking about, we are doing the 2015 fantasy, I guess this says mystery. I would say more of adventure. Tomorrowland, starring George Clooney and Britt Robertson. So I will really quickly just go through some facts. Tomorrowland has a runtime of 130 minutes, rated PG, production budget of $190 million. Its opening weekend, it did $33 million. Domestic, $93. Worldwide, $209 million. So, yeah, not good. No. It was released on May 22nd, 2015. That was a Friday. The same time as another movie that you had not seen, Poltergeist, the remake of Poltergeist.
Yep.
The week after, you had San Andreas and Aloha. I would guess San Andreas is probably its main competition. Aloha is more of I don't say drama, but I guess it's summertime. We're in the opening of summer. I guess everything's a competition. The week before, you had Mad Max Fury Road, which was very good.
Oh yeah,
and Pitch Perfect 2, which even if you didn't like Pitch Perfect 2, we always say this: Pitch Perfect, the first one, was such a success that the sequel is always going to be very popular.
Yep.
So it came out after a big weekend, but that's probably not why it was forgotten or people don't seem to latch onto it, which we'll get into. Directed by Brad Bird, also written by Brad Bird and Damon Lindelof. Brad Bird, if you do not know who he is, I would assume you do, but he is responsible for The Iron Giant, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, Mission Impossible 4, Ghost Protocol. He also wrote, which I did not know this, Batteries Not Included, the 80s film.
I didn't know that either until I saw that one.
He also did a couple episodes for Amazing Stories, which is an anthology that was out in the 80s as well from Spielberg. He wrote Family Dog and The Main Attraction, 2 episodes. Lindelof is from Lost. He also did the new updated Star Trek movie, and he did the TV show The Leftovers, or the HBO show Leftovers. Mm-hmm. Music by Michael Giacchino. I said that right? That's right?
I always mispronounce. I think it's Giacchino.
He's all over the place, and if I said his name wrong, well, I say so many people's names wrong that at this point, I think there's just a blanket apology always attached to it. He is big time Star Trek, more recently Jojo Rabbit, and he also did Bad Times at El Royale, which I did not realize as well.
Oh, did he? He also did all the Planet of the Apes films.
Correct. Pretty much any big movie now he's a part of.
He's kind of like the new modern John Williams in terms of his scores are very sweeping, very orchestral.
Yes, they're memorable.
Yes.
So yes. Cinematography by Claudio Miranda. From Life of Pi, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Oblivion, which we both like.
Yes. I also really like Curious Case of Benjamin Button, but I know you don't.
Well, Oblivion, like we both like. Listen, Benjamin Button is a good movie, and I don't necessarily love Benjamin Button like a lot of people do. It's fine. It's very tough to watch a baby die at the end. So that's
that's super upsetting.
Really tough. And
it's the only other time other than like dogs dying where I was like crying.
That's a tough way to end it. Producer, all these movies have many different producers. I just kind of like highlight a couple every once in a while. This one of the producers on this movie was Jeffrey Chernoff, and was also for Black Panther, Star Trek, so he has his name behind some big projects. I'll run through the cast real quick. George Clooney plays Frank Walker. Britt Robertson is Casey Newton. Raffi Cassidy, probably Raffi Cassidy, is Athena. Hugh Laurie as Nix. Tim McGraw as Eddie Newton. Catherine Hahn is Ursula, and Keegan Michael Key as Hugo. They have Hahn and Key have they're small roles. They're probably like
extended cameos.
Yeah, kind of. I'm sure everyone knows where Clooney is from. If you don't like the Ocean's movies, ER, Michael Clayton. Britt Robertson, you might not know. She was in Scream 4, Dan in Real Life, which I really like that movie. Did you ever see Dan in Real Life?
No.
That's a really good movie. The Space Between Us, and she's in upcoming the I Still Believe movie, which I'm sure we'll be getting at our theater. Raffi Cassidy who plays Athena from Snow White and the Huntsman. She's also an ally in Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I've been meaning to see and have not yet seen. Yeah, I mean, everyone else, they're pretty much their names. You've known them, you've seen them. I'm sure if I can blow through them, but
Hugh Laurie's from House.
Yeah, so like I said, they're all over the place. Let me get to the synopsis real quick of what Tomorrowland is about.
Break it down,
and then we'll jump right into the movie, or in terms of into our
discussion,
viewing topics, facts, kind of thing.
Yes.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if all the geniuses, the artists, the scientists, the smartest, most creative people in the world decided to actually change it? But where? Where could they even do such a thing? They'd need a place free from politics and bureaucracy, distractions, greed, a secret place where they could build whatever they were crazy enough to imagine.
So I am reading this off of Google, everyone. So because I'm just not going to try to like break it down in my own words, because that just gets flawed. Whenever Casey Newton, as I said, played by Britt Robertson, touches the lapel pin with the letter T on it, she finds herself transported to Tomorrowland, a city filled with huge robots and sleek buildings. That right off the bat, that's not accurate. The gifted young woman recruits the help of a scientist, Frank Walker, a previous visitor to Tomorrowland, who years ago made a startling discovery about the future. Together, the two adventurers travel to the metropolis to uncover its mysterious secrets. This synopsis sucks. That's not what it's about.
Break it down for
me, basically, the world's gone to poop, and Casey is somebody who is forever the optimist, and she discovers the pin, the lapel pin, the T. It's basically the Tomorrowland symbol. For those who are familiar with Disney World, there's a world down there called Tomorrowland, which has all like the futuristic, the endeavors of people, like what could the future be like and stuff like that. It's like Epcot is. It's almost like if Epcot was in Tomorrowland, but it's not. It's in Tomorrowland's in Disney World. I'm talking about like Epcot's got. You're looking at me like
I thought Tomorrowland was part of Epcot.
No, Tomorrowland's part of Disney World. Tomorrowland's like with Frontierland and.
Oh.
Okay, I've been listen. I
believe you.
This summer.
I'm just saying what I thought. It was part of it.
I understand that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
When you're in Epcot, you feel kind of like the Tomorrowland vibe, like it should be, but no, they're separate.
Okay.
So back to we're not breaking down.
Tell me about Disney World.
We're not breaking down. Walt Disney World. So anyway, she touches the pin, and what she sees is like a 2.5 minute video pitch of what Tomorrowland is. Like it's waiting for you, and what the possibilities of this world could be, where everyone is just focused on building a better tomorrow, not bogged down by ego or
greed.
Right. They're basically all looking forward, always looking forward. Like we talk in
Meet the
Robinsons, one of our other episodes. Like that was one of the quotes at the end, like always moving forward. So she meets up with this young woman named Athena, who you find out is a animatronic robot.
Audio
animatronic. And she tells her that the fate of the world is in stake. We need to go get Frank Walker, which is played by George Clooney. And from there, that they need to go to Tomorrowland, because she discovers that Tomorrowland is actually a place. I guess they don't really kind of say where it is. You're supposed to assume it's another universe.
Its own little like pocket universe. Yeah,
right.
Its own dimension.
Like we're dealing with a multiverse here.
Yes.
So we need to get there, and we need to basically stop what's happening, because in a couple months there's a signal.
56 days.
In 56 days, there's something that's going to happen that's going to cause the apocalypse. Catastrophic events are going to take place. They don't know what it is, but they know it's something. And everyone, Frank Walker, who is George Clooney again, thinks that it's over, it's done. Who cares? He's angry. He's very angry throughout this movie. but Casey believes always that there must be something that we can do. Because of her optimism, Walker starts believing in that and starts fighting for their future, fighting for a Tomorrowland. And from there, they go to Tomorrowland, and what happens is they built this giant ball that it's what is it? It uses tachyon.
Uses tachyons, which are faster than the speed of light.
Right.
So time,
right,
kind of, they can break the laws of physics.
Right. And what it's supposed to do, it's supposed to read. It's supposed to just see what the future and the past is in the other world.
Basically, yeah.
But what it's also doing is submitting a signal to everyone, subconsciously, showing them the apocalypse, showing them what could happen if they continue down this path of gluttony, of using the resources, of ignoring the warnings of climate change and all that stuff.
Yep.
And what that does, it doesn't really inspire anybody to kind of change the world. What it's doing is just people are just kind of like, whatever. So it's obviously it's very topical. And so, but they realize that what it's doing is just feeding, as they say in the movie, it's feeding the wrong wolf.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy machine, basically.
Right. So they need to shut it down. And that's kind of like the crux of the ending of the movie. But yeah. So that was my terrible synopsis of what Tomorrowland is, helped by Mike, as I obviously struggle through that. But so I really like this movie. I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I probably have on the cast.
I think you have.
Yeah. So, and I know that you've always mentioned that you don't like it as much as I like it.
No, I don't think anyone likes it as much. I don't think Brad Bird himself likes it as much as you like it. Although, maybe he does.
Listen. I know people that like this movie as much as I do. I just don't ever hear from them again. But so you haven't seen it since the theater.
No.
Give me some of your first impressions, I guess, or second impressions, if you will.
Second impressions?
Because I had no change, but go ahead.
So I like this movie a lot. I mean, I don't not like it. My main issue is it takes a long time to get to the plot of the story. It takes a long time to get to basically the issue at hand, which is the fact that this device is doing this self-fulfilling prophecy. We get hints at it at the beginning and the end, or a couple of times. You see the clock ticking down, but for the most part, it's just you don't really get that until they get to Tomorrowland.
Well, I guess that is why I sat here and going, was it really a mystery? Probably that's the element of they're trying to solve what really is Tomorrowland, or what Casey's trying to figure out what is going on here.
But is she? Because her main thing is not trying to figure out what's going on here. Her main thing is, I need to get to Tomorrowland.
Well, yeah,
or
obviously.
That place. They don't say Tomorrowland. The only time they say Tomorrowland is when George Clooney says, "You wanted to see Tomorrowland? Here it is."
Yes,
that's the only time they say it.
That is the only time they say it. Yeah. They don't have a specific name for the city or anything like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I understand your point. That's fair. That's a fair analysis of the movie. I still like it.
That's the main new thing that kind of popped up this time is that I found the relationship between Athena and George Clooney to be, I mean, I liked it in the last time, but I think I liked it better the second time around.
I think this movie, and I've said this before for a couple of other things, The Burbs and not The Burbs. I'm sorry. What was the movie? One of our older movies where I said that it was in the wrong decade.
Krampus.
Yes, I said that for Krampus. So I also think that this is a movie that's probably, I understand why it comes out now, because the main message of the movie is that, to quote Jerry Maguire to quote Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire when he's trying to win Dorothy Boyd back, these are cynical times. I think this movie has been planted in a time when people are cynical and people are depressed and down. And,
yeah, because they're putting that in our brains from the tachyon machine.
To save civilization, I would show its collapse. But how do you think this vision was received? How do you think people responded to the prospect of imminent doom? They gobbled it up like a chocolate eclair. They didn't fear their demise. They repackaged it. It can be enjoyed as video games, as TV shows, books, movies. The entire world wholeheartedly embraced the apocalypse and sprinted towards it with gleeful abandon.
That's in the movie, yes. But I'm saying in real life, in reality, wait a minute, maybe that is real. In reality, people tend to harp on the negative quite often. And with the advent of social media, where everyone is, on their phones and not having face-to-face contact, it's a lot easier to be negative when you don't have the person in front of you. It's a lot easier to kind of like just spew out everything that you're, angry about or upset about, valid or invalid in terms of your feelings. So I think that just creates a whole negative ball of energy. This movie coming out, which it was 4 years ago, well, going on 5,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it fits in this decade, in that time. I understand that. But if this movie feels very much like a movie from the 80s, it feels very much like just that kind of optimism, that kind of adventure spirit. Would it be the same type of movie if it was made back then? Probably not. It would probably be a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Brad Bird is much younger then, so I don't know if he'd be involved with that. But you know what I mean? Like, I think it's right for this time. I just think that maybe audiences really couldn't latch onto it as much. And maybe I'm making a case for why it's forgotten now. Maybe I've spiraled into that. I think people didn't, respond to it as much as I did, perhaps. I always talk about the movie The Terminal, where that message gets ahead of the movie.
Yep.
The Tom Hanks starring movie with Steven Spielberg. I think that in this movie, I think you could probably make a case for the same thing. Like the message gets ahead of the movie. But I like a lot of the stuff in the movie, and it appeals to my younger self who enjoys adventure films and enjoys Indiana Jones and those,
Sure, yeah. I mean, there aren't a lot of adventure films anymore, which we've talked about in the podcast before.
Correct. So I think that's probably why I like this movie a lot more, maybe than you or maybe than some others. Let me ask you a question, because we're talking about structure. I watched this movie, and then I had a friend of mine came in with somebody else that he knew. They watched it. They came out, and not my friend, but his friend said that this had third act problems. And I didn't agree with that. And because you talk about it gets to the thing, it gets to a long time to the plot. Do you agree with that?
The third act is the whole movie. So yeah, I think the third act is everything crammed into one. Here's the story. Let's solve it. And it's literally because I watched this in 2 days this time.
Boo. Butler, maybe if you took care of yourself and you got yourself in a nice bedtime.
Never. An hour and 25. Now you're in Tomorrowland. Hour 25 for this 2 hour and 10-minute movie. Now you're at the plot of the movie. But are you 10 minutes is credits?
But you're not bored getting to that point.
No, not at all. That's why I like the movie. But I think that's a big issue with the film is that where's your story? It's all at the end. It doesn't take. I mean, it takes off. There's always the robots chasing them. They're always on the run, which is cool. The fantastic set pieces and special effects. The acting's good. The dialogue's fun. But what's this movie about? Casey getting to Tomorrowland when everyone tells her you don't want to go to Tomorrowland? No, the plot is there's this device we have to stop, which doesn't come into play until the very end, which is the third act.
Well, that's a plot, but also let's talk about. I just spent 5 minutes talking about the message of the movie. Okay. It's also about the eternal optimist of Casey, who has to make the eternal pessimist, who is Frank Walker, change his mind. She almost and it's a road movie. So it goes from when they get Frank and they got to get to Tomorrowland. There's a subplot theme running in there that she can change Frank Walker's mind. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes, well, okay, but can you change the mind of the world, which is that tachyon machine? You know what I'm saying? So it's almost I'm not stating this case saying like you're wrong. I'm just kind of giving you an alternate look at
I understand that. I just don't buy that that's the other thing is I don't believe that she changes his mind. Like it just happens all of a sudden. Like, yeah, okay, the first glitch, and then he gets this hint that, okay,
right.
maybe,
yeah.
Which I'm talking about in the house when
Correct.
all of a sudden the percentage goes down from 100% end of the world to 99.46 or something like that.
It's enough.
I know with absolute certainty the exact time of your death. Now, you want me to tell you or not?
Of course I would. Who wouldn't? But what if accepting my death is what causes it? So the answer is yes. I would want you to tell me. But I wouldn't believe you.
You have to believe me.
Why? Don't we make our own destiny and stuff?
He remains cantankerous the whole time, unbelieving. I think maybe some of the adventure, being able to go back and see these devices of Tomorrowland, going to the Eiffel Tower, explaining how Tesla, Edison, Eiffel, and I can't remember who that fourth guy was.
Ooh. Isn't it Jules Verne?
Was it Vern? Oh, maybe it was Vern.
I don't know.
I
should have wrote down.
But they all
Shame
came
on
together
us.
to create Tomorrowland. He's going through this history and he's all excited about it. I mean, maybe that excites him a little bit, but then all of a sudden he goes from this guy like, oh, you want to see Tomorrowland? Here it is. Everything's going to end. Everything's going to end. Oh, no, it's not going to end. She can save it. Like all of a sudden, like he's just like, yeah.
I don't think he was like that when he got there. I think he's like he knew what they were. He knew, and we're talking about Frank
Right.
Walker. He knew the reason why the world was going to end in 56 days. He didn't know how, but he knew why, and it was the machine. Because the machine showed him, but he didn't because they saw the future,
right?
But he didn't know that the machine was causing that.
Oh, I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm saying he all of a sudden knows about Casey.
I got you.
Like, oh, Casey can save the world. When he kind of didn't seem to maybe completely buy it. Oh, 100%. And then all of a sudden he's all in on that.
Okay, so you bring up the house, and the house is an awesome set
It's my
piece.
favorite scene in
the house
movie.
is an awesome set piece. Even the fight at the Blast from the Past is a nice little set piece when they're trying to kill her.
Right.
Or I guess trying to kill her.
Oh, they're trying to kill her.
Right. So you have moments in this movie though that are really well done and exciting and adventurous.
Again, I like this movie.
Yeah, but
I'm not
really
trying to make you
crapping
hate
all
this
over it.
movie.
No,
I'm trying to provide a counterpoint for your intense love of the movie, or else this podcast is going to be just a love fest.
Let me tell you something, Butler. You're not going to make me change.
I know I'm not,
because I do like this movie, but I understand the criticism and the critique of it. I guess my only response to that would be like, there are a lot of other movies out there that are far worse than this movie and have far more problems. And I'm sorry, but like there are a lot of people that can't do that scene in the house, that whole scene, the creativity of that whole scene in the house.
Brad Bird's fantastic,
Right.
creative. His movies are fantastic. I'd love to see him do more live action stuff. Ghost Protocol opens up Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which is I think his first live action directing gig.
Yeah.
I think he did Amazing Stories. Actually, he wrote.
He
and
might have
directed
done one of the episodes. Yeah.
But that opening set piece when Tom Cruise is escaping from that Russian prison at the beginning,
You think that's one of the best ones of the Mission Impossible series?
I don't. That's the one that ends with the parking garage, right?
No, that's the one where he's in. No, Ghost Protocol is when he's in the prison.
I mean, the breakout scene is.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's the opening. He's like light the match.
It's the best opening sequence.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, the best opening.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Although I do like Mission Impossible 1's more spy centric one, but in terms of the more action packed one, starting with 2, that's absolutely the best opening. Because that scene was, I was like, oh wow, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
On that one. So Brad Bird, right off the bat, he knows how to make great set pieces. The Incredibles has some great action as well. And the Iron Giant, when the spoiler alert, the Iron Giant goes evil and starts destroying stuff. That was really cool and well done as well.
Right. He comes back.
He does come back. The Iron Giant's amazing.
And everyone cries at the end.
Oh, God. And then the Iron Giant goes on to create a racing franchise. Family. But no, the set pieces and stuff all stem from Brad Bird's amazing, I think, love for Disney and his love for his great imagination and creativity. Absolutely. I just think it has, some issues with story and pacing. I don't know about pacing, but in terms of story, he keeps you gripped the whole time through, which is great. But I do think the main issue is probably the story.
Okay.
And I don't think George Clooney, I think another reason it's forgotten, George Clooney isn't really I'm not saying he's not a bankable star, but he's not the reason people go to the movies.
Come on. Yes, absolutely. See, I'm going to take umbrage
in the masses at that point at this point in his career.
Absolutely.
This is after Ocean's is done.
Yeah. So that makes you a bankable star. No way. No, come on. I can't believe you said that. Really?
He's the only one in the film. Ocean's also had Brad Pitt. It had all these actresses, Julia Roberts, but this
seriously, you're saying that George Clooney doesn't bring butts in the seats?
I don't think he brings.
Oh, come on.
In terms of the masses, in terms for a movie like Tomorrowland, he doesn't bring Tomorrowland audiences into the seats.
Oh, I disagree with that. Absolutely. I don't understand why you're not giving. He's a big time. He's a star.
I love George.
He's
Clooney,
a movie star,
but I don't think he's Tomorrowland draw. And I think he's perfect for this role, and I think he does a fantastic job. But if we're going to come up with reasons why maybe it was forgotten, I just don't know.
You're saying the reason why this is forgotten is because George Clooney's in it?
I think it's one of a smaller reason. Not that George Clooney's in it, but that only George Clooney's in it. Like you say...
Hugh Laurie's not a big star?
Hugh Laurie's a television star.
Okay.
Like we talked about Bolt.
Okay.
And we talked about how Chloe Grace Moretz was taken off the project after recording all her dialogue and replaced with Miley Cyrus, which I tried to defend a little bit, but I mean, it's pretty much because Miley was a more bankable star.
Mm-hmm.
While Britt Robertson did a really great job with Casey, you know, if they had gotten a more bankable star, maybe it would have done better. Like, for instance, I know they really wanted Emilia Clarke in the role, but she couldn't do it because she was doing Game of Thrones at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe if she was in the role, I don't know if she would have done as good a job or if it would have been the same kind of acting or the same kind of character. But I think that would have been a little bit more bankable because she was right in the middle of Game of Thrones at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think maybe having different actors or actresses, including George Clooney, would have made it take off a little bit more. Especially with a big summer movie, you want names, generally speaking.
He's a name.
More names. I like multiple names. You want multiple names.
I can't follow that train of thought. I'm sorry. I don't think you're giving him. I'm not saying he's Harrison Ford. Okay,
that was actually the example I was going to
because you can't.
Yeah.
There's probably a handful of people that you can say that are going to bring, no matter what it is.
Single
like
name.
Harrison Ford,
Yes.
Cruise, Julia Roberts,
Brad Pitt.
I don't know.
DiCaprio.
Brad Pitt. No,
Again, not anymore.
I don't think. I
don't think ever.
Listen, I don't think people are going to go see a movie like. I'm trying to think of a movie that DiCaprio was in.
Although Ad Astra had just come out a few months ago, and that really didn't do much.
Yeah,
with
there you
Brad Pitt's
go.
name.
There you go.
But neither did this one.
Well,
So I
The
don't know.
Revenant, but The Revenant wasn't about. The Revenant wasn't about DiCaprio being in it. He's fantastic in it. But The Revenant was just because it was an Oscar buzz movie. The director was
Right,
big.
yeah.
No, I think you have a handful of people that will just put butts in the seats. And to be fair, we talked about this one of our episodes. I can't even remember. You have people that are just super hot and people want to see, like when we talked about Kevin Hart, where people just come up to the theater and be like, can I get the new one for Kevin Hart movie? You know, Tiffany Haddish is probably hot right now too. So you have stars that, I'm not saying that the level of Harrison Ford, but they are currently hot in terms of people want to see their stuff.
The Rock, a Denzel movie. Everyone will want to see a
Correct.
Denzel Washington movie.
Sure. Denzel plays well all the time.
Doesn't matter what kind of movie it is.
I'm amazed. What was the last one when it was with she won the award. Viola Davis
You're
won
talking
it.
about Fences?
Fences. Like we both watched Fences, and
Yeah.
it's like a 2.5 hour straight drama, and he's not the good guy in it. He's
No, not at all, yeah.
right. And it's like, and I'm like, people are just lining up, and I'm like, it's not like it's a drama. It's a hard drama. It's a great movie. It's a good movie. No, it's a great movie. He's
It's
really good in it. He's just not.
the acting is off of that.
He's not a great guy in it in the movie. But and it's like. Didn't matter. Denzel's there. Boom. People are coming in. It's amazing how big of a draw he is, which is fantastic. Good for him. But it's amazing how big. It doesn't matter. If you, I always laugh when we're at the theater and we get the Denzel movie and it's one screen. I'm like, nope. That needs 2 screens. I mean, I don't know what to tell you here. I know this is our building and maybe you think you know better, but it needs 2 screens because this movie is going to be big. It doesn't matter. People are coming for Denzel.
You got to put that in the big house.
Absolutely. So yeah. No, so put Denzel up in that. Denzel, Harrison Ford, Tom Cruise, Julia Roberts. I mean, there's probably a couple other people.
The
I'm not
Rock,
thinking
Kevin
of.
Hart.
Right? Yeah. Kevin
Harrison
Hart, I
Ford
would
not
say when
anymore.
he's hot, when he was big, when it was like he was in like almost every movie.
You think he's starting to cool
No,
down
I
now?
just think that he's. You know, he can't be in every movie because he's got other stuff he's doing. And,
Right.
you know, Jumanji is
you mean
not
the sheer amount of movies he's now doing? Is
Right.
slower now.
But we're off topic.
I think that adds to the reason. I don't think it's a large reason the movie maybe was forgotten. I just think it's a reason, a small part of the reason.
So there's 2 things with this movie that I wanted to just talk about in terms of theme or just kind of when I was watching it, what I thought of, and then I'll try to get into some of the facts of the movie and stuff like that. One of the things I took away from this movie was that it expresses an overall acceptance by many people in our culture and our society to just whine and complain, to just blame someone else, to not take ownership to do something.
Right.
It talks about the acceptance of to just complain about something and not turn around and just, we'll do something about it. Well, in terms of this is now, mind you, this was 5 years ago, going on 5 years because we're in 2020 now. So this was 2015. I do think that's somewhat changing now because you have a lot more. There's a lot more younger people that are activists now, and a lot more people that are just kind of like, you know, trying with climate change and just, you know, involved in politics and stuff like that. So there's definitely like that kind of like movement to kind of like, no, we need to do something. But I think there was a time when people just kind of like, whatever. I don't want to do anything. I just want to, you know, we work with people that complain all the time and don't want to do anything.
Right.
So I think that this movie kind of like highlights that a little bit in terms of the doers and the I can't think of another better word for the not doers. I also think that this is the type of movie that many filmmakers when they were kids, back in the day, this is the type of the movie they dreamed of making. This.
Oh, absolutely,
right,
yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the type of movie that appealed to them when they were growing up and first wanting to make movies. And I'm very surprised that I don't hear more filmmakers talk about this movie that way. You know what I mean? Like people that are kind of making, or I'm putting in what quotations, making these type of movies now, don't really kind of like reference this movie, because I think this movie has a lot more to offer in terms of, I know you're saying, and I'm not saying storytelling in terms of the plot holes that you were talking about, but just in terms of the set pieces and just the action and just some of the dialogue. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that I really like.
A lot of it's reminiscent of, like you said, movies from the 80s that were like fantastic in the early 90s. Like with the beginning with his jetpack thing, when he's trying to get it off. I'm like, that's like the Rocketeer.
Right.
It's like the Rocketeer level, playing with the jetpack. It's still actiony, but it's the whole family. It's like that kind of movie you see when you're, like you said, when you're a kid, not super small or young, but you're suddenly segueing into more adult movies, and you get that kind of good mix of you can have action and adventure and stakes, but still be fun and exciting, like Indiana Jones, like the Rocketeer, like any of those kind of Goonies type movies. In that sense, the movie is fantastic.
Right. Now, do you think it was a good decision or a bad decision that Brad Bird turned down Star Wars: The Force Awakens for this movie?
I was going to talk about that. I think I like his quote that he said.
Yes, agreed.
And I'm going to probably paraphrase it because I couldn't find it directly, but he said that he was given the option of Star Wars.
He was offered it. He straight up offered to direct it.
He was the one over J.J. Abrams to take over the new trilogy.
I would assume that J.J. offered to, because J.J. was producing it.
J.J. had turned it down at that point.
Oh, okay. All right.
They went to Brad Bird, who was the second choice, or maybe even it was like tied with J.J. And he said that he chose to do Tomorrowland because anyone could do Star Wars. Somebody was going to do Star Wars, but nobody was going to do Tomorrowland.
Right. That
was his movie. And I always like that quote, and I respect him for that.
He wanted to do something original.
Right. It must have been really tough to say no to Star Wars.
Right.
I would imagine.
Well, not for anything, but now we're lauding the fact that Rian Johnson did Knives Out, the original movie. Oh, I can't believe an original movie played. It did so well, $30 million. It's like, I'm sorry, but we're just getting to that realization now. That kind of rose to the wrong way.
That's also possibly another reason Tomorrowland didn't do so well, is it's an original concept.
Right.
I mean, it's based on the ride, but it's an original concept that I think now people are finally bored, maybe because of all the different Marvel movies and all the sequels and reboots. Maybe finally now people are like looking for original content again. But 2015, 5 years ago,
I don't know. I think Knives Out has a little bit more going for it than Tomorrowland in terms of it has a lot of people in it that people know. It's got Bond. It's got Daniel. No, I got you. It's got Daniel Craig in it. He's a new Bond. Or he is a new Bond. He is Bond. It's also Ryan. I think people know Rian Johnson enough in terms of. I'm saying general audiences.
I think Rian Johnson has been helped by the fact that Star Wars was so.
Just say it. You want to say
divisive.
You want to say that you hate The Last Jedi. Just say
I'm not a fan of Last Jedi. But that it was so. But that's not the point here, because I know there are people that like it and don't like it. But it was very divisive, and I think that has helped Rian Johnson become a name. Looper came out. People like Looper, but it wasn't Rian Johnson. But his name was said so much all over social media and stuff that now all of a sudden his name is everywhere. So if you put Rian Johnson's name on Knives Out, there's even people that didn't really like Last Jedi. There's this morbid curiosity of let's watch it and see what's going on.
Right. No, I hear you. I hear you.
I think that's also an issue with Brad Bird. I think a lot of people might know Brad Bird, like you and I know him filmmaking wise.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff he does in terms of like Incredibles and stuff like that, when you make movies like that for Disney, the directors' names and the writers' names kind of get hidden behind this Disney facade of the mouse is the thing that people see is Disney's signature, not necessarily the creators behind it.
And the focus of the Disney movies are kids, and kids don't care who's making the movie. They just care what's on screen, and whether and parents aren't taking kids to movies because Brad Bird did this, you'll love this. They're taking because what's the new kids movie? Let's go. We got to go do something.
Yep.
I mean, that's what you do. That's what parents do. You're finding stuff to do for kids.
Right.
So
although he does Pixar stuff, so I feel like some parents see Pixar, and that's also a sign of
I don't know.
We're not going to buy this. We're going to
parents
go to it.
Now. Maybe, but when Pixar was first big in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah, not at all. Yeah.
Those people when people my age back then, the early 20s, like, oh, these are really good animated movies.
So
right.
now
their parents,
sure. Yeah.
I try to get them to watch it, but like, I saw their new movies, Soul. I mean, it looks okay, but I mean, like they're doing a lot of heady stuff, and I'm just
Soul could end up being another Up, which is one of my favorite Pixar movies, but not necessarily a kids movie.
But for Up, like the kids like love the bird
and Doug
and the dog. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm going off of. I think I've always talked about I like Inside Out more than I think my kids like Inside Out.
Right, you like Inside Out a lot, which I don't really. I like Inside Out, but you like it a lot, which, like you've said, because it speaks to you as a parent.
If and when you have children, watch it again. You'll
exactly.
I think you'll have it. You'll have a different experience, but that's true of any movie. And when you get old, even if you don't have kids, when you get older,
just different life things.
Exactly. Right. You watch movies at a different time in your life, and it responds. You respond to it differently. Right. Absolutely. So this was the first Disney film formatted for IMAX theaters. 191. So audience saw 16% more of the film on screen. Did you know that?
I did know that because this time I got some facts.
Ooh, give me one of them. Give me a fact.
Oh, you want a fact?
Yeah.
I'll throw you a fact.
Hurry up! I'm gonna come on.
Did you know that there are hidden Mickeys throughout the entire film?
Yeah, I. You know what's funny is I had read that and I was like, I don't care. But go ahead.
What I like about that, like, there's like, for instance, I'll give you two. Casey's footprints when the holographic dog comes out with her footprints have made a Mickey head. And when you see Nix's watch for the first time, when he looks at it, when he meets Frank and Casey at Tomorrowland, his watch, the three little screens have three circles on it that form Mickey's head. There's a lot of different things as well that kind of hint toward Disney parks.
Mm-hmm. Well, they shot at Disney World or Disney parks.
Some of it, yeah. Like the theme to Epcot's American Adventure, Golden Dream is the name of the song. That's the background music throughout the film. Frank's upstairs bedroom has purple wallpaper, which is like the Haunted Mansion. Space Mountain's in the background when they pan around the city. So I thought that was pretty cool because the whole movie's based on a park. And I feel like they did a really good job of kind of really showcasing that in a very clever kind of hidden way.
Sure.
Without smacking you over the head with it. Although toward the beginning when they're on Small World, you're like,
well,
okay,
that's the World's Fair.
That.
That's what it was.
Right. So that was there. Right.
Which I was like, man, I wish I was back. I mean, if you time travel, like I know people want to go to big events. I just want to experience like with the World's Fair when it first started, when it was big before, I'd love to experience that.
You know what the first thing I thought when he gets off that bus and looks at the World Fair was?
What?
Those Men in Black. I can't look at that globe or anything with the World's Fair without thinking of Men in Black.
That's Men in Black in the 90s. That's not back then in the 50s.
But that's where they hid the UFO, man.
Listen, I forever know that scene because I'm a Mets fan, and I will forever know that scene because Bernard Gilkey is the one in the center, is the outfielder who's looking up at the sky when the thing's going over and he gets hit in the head with the ball. Which, if you were a Mets fan and you knew Bernard Gilkey, that happened quite often. I'm just kidding. You mentioned that it was based on Disney World, based around a lot of the
right. Yeah,
it was also kind of based on a book. So there's a novel called Ring Around the Sun, which was written by Clifford Seamack, or I think it's Seamack, which was basically about a talented people coming together to create a new society. So it was kind of loosely around that idea as well.
Well, I also know that they found a box that's kind of inspired Disney to want to make a movie about Tomorrowland.
Right.
It was called labeled 1952.
Well, that was the working title of the movie.
Yeah, and it had all this Tomorrowland stuff inside of it. So it had all the original documents and plans and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that was really what inspired them to go, we need to make a movie based on this.
This is I don't know why I never knew this, but I never knew what Epcot stood for until I researched this movie and we doing the notes. Mm-hmm. I never knew that Epcot stands for. I didn't know what it stood for.
Right. I can't remember. I know I've seen it before.
Yeah,
so I've watched
which is stupid that I didn't know this, but Epcot is means experimental prototype city of tomorrow, which, I mean, how stupid am I that I feel really dumb that I didn't know that. And like Judy Greer was in this movie, but she's completely cut out.
She's just a voice in the background.
Yeah.
In the one video. I assume she died.
I don't. Was she the mother or was she an aunt?
She's the mother.
Was she the mother?
Yeah.
See, because she had I guess she had a huge chunk. She shot a lot.
Oh, did she?
Yeah. I wonder maybe they had a lot of flashback stuff.
You have to get the Blu-ray and watch the deleted scenes.
Did you get the Back to the Future reference? Back to the Future 2 reference?
That's the hobby shop she goes to.
Yes. Same name as the Blast from the Past where she meets, Ursula and what was his character's name? Hugo.
Hugo.
And they're really, as you said, audio animatronic robots who attack Casey, but they work at a store called Blast from the Past. And obviously in Back to the Future 2, Marty buys the sports almanac at
Blast from
the Past in Hilldale. So apparently it was a franchise.
Hugo and Ursula are named after different writers that have won Hugo Awards.
I knew that too, yeah.
I like that scene because a lot of the scene in that shop also because of the use of the sound effects and props that they use are all different science fiction props, and they all have the different sound effects as they're beating each other up.
Right.
I thought that was a cool callback to all the different sci-fi
And
stuff.
they also, I think you see like Mr. Incredible in there. You see a couple things from other movies.
Yeah,
and
I
stuff
think
like
one of the
that,
action
yeah.
figures that falls down is the bad guy from Incredibles 1.
No, I think it was the original Mr. Incredible, like
Oh.
his original outfit.
Oh, the black and blue suit
right,
was his original. Right. Okay.
Yes, that's what I think you see there.
Okay.
So generally, you like it, but don't love it, and I love it,
I like it a lot.
but understand why you don't like it.
I just needed to provide a counterpoint to you. Like why? Like I know you'd have asked me why I didn't like it as much as you did. I mean, I couldn't remember why I didn't like it as much as you until I watched it again.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, it takes a long time to get to the plot.
I mean,
But the adventure is fun. It's worth watching. The message is great.
yeah, and I think we already highlighted some of the reasons why it was forgotten in terms of I just think people weren't interested in this type of movie. Probably it's an original film and like you said, maybe they were expecting a superhero movie, whatever. I mean, something like that. I know that Disney lost I think up to $140 million on this movie.
Spent too much on marketing.
Which, I mean, quite honestly, sorry, are you going to be okay, Disney? Please. So I just think there's a lot of stuff around this movie that I enjoy quite a bit that probably doesn't translate to box office dollars.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you can say that Britt Robertson and Raffi Cassidy did a great job because they did, especially. I mean, I know Britt Robertson was actually a lot older than what she plays in the movie.
Yes.
She's
I think 5 or 6 years.
She's 7 years older than
Yeah.
her character's actual age is.
So I got there. I was getting there.
But Raffi Cassidy is a little girl in this movie.
Yeah, that's
she's fantastic.
That you have to play somebody that has the body of obviously of a child, but the mind of somebody who not just a robot, but you're somebody who has seen it all and experienced it all, and
she's older and wiser and
Right.
has regrets and stuff like that.
and you have to have an emotional connection to Frank Welker, played by George Clooney, especially at the end, where he's got to act like this was a girl that his character when he was a kid falls in love with her.
Yep.
And he has a crush on her, and
he's
then
never fallen out of love with her. Yeah.
right, and because she's a robot, an animatronic, because it's almost like that's a source of anger with him because he feels like she's a lie. She represents Tomorrowland and everything because he gets kicked out when he's a teenager. I think he gets kicked out.
Well, she's also not honest with him.
Correct, right. So, but I mean, at the end when they have that moment when he's just like, kudos to her and kudos to him because that's tough to do. I would think for a lot of people.
I think that's my favorite part of the film is other than the set pieces and stuff is their relationship is just so well done and well acted. It's like, wow, that's actually nice.
I also like the father-daughter Newton has with her father. Tim McGraw plays her dad.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough of that. I also thought there was more with her brother.
Well, there is kind of, but how much? I mean, you're talking. I mean, for pacing, they can't really be in it that long.
I didn't say. I'm not saying I thought there should be more.
Mhm.
I thought there was more.
Also,
I thought he was in it with her with their adventure. I forgot about that.
And also, I'm a fan of the Two Wolves story. I like that story. I like that idea.
Which one you feed?
Yeah,
Right.
and I mean, I guess we can run through it real quick. It's just basically there's two inside of you. She breaks it down in the movie, but there's inside of you. There's two wolves. One wolf is hope and love and joy and just kind of like everything good. And another wolf is everything bad, like negativity and doubtful and fear and they're both inside of you, and which one is going to win, and it's the one you feed, and so that's just, I like that lesson. I like that life lesson. I think that translates very well to reality and people now. So, and people choose to be negative and people choose to be positive. You just have to feed the right wolf kind of thing.
There are two wolves, and they're always fighting. One is darkness and despair. The other is light and hope. Which wolf wins?
Come on, guys.
Okay, fine. Don't answer.
Whichever one you feed.
So I enjoy that. And I think that stems from, I like the fact that she turns it around on her dad and she makes him, because he's sitting there obviously losing his job and all that
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
Which I was surprised. Tim McGraw did a really good job.
Well, he's
as
good.
Dad. Yeah.
He's good in The Blind Side. I like him in The Blind Side.
Oh, I forgot he's in The
Yeah,
Blind Side.
does
Right.
the-
Yep.
Yeah. So, no, he's good. I just like when they were trying to watch football, she turns it off. He's like, what? That's from The Blind Side, everyone. So now, did you know that Shailene Woodley turned down the lead role?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I guess they offered. Would you have preferred her in this role?
Nah. I mean, I really haven't seen her in enough stuff other than the Divergent series. And she's okay in Snowden.
Mhm.
But I don't know if she would have had the chops at that point. I mean, it's tough, but I don't know. Maybe not.
That's there's I know you talk about how there's no names around Clooney, but I mean,
Right.
there's a case to be made by having people in here that you don't know too much.
Right, because they had the ability to make the character. Like Emilia Clarke, like I mentioned, that they offered her the role, or they wanted her for the role, but I don't know if she would have done a better job either.
Yeah.
Or would have been a right choice. I know that they also considered Naomi Scott, who now got cast in another Disney movie as Jasmine. They also auditioned her for the role, but she lost to Britt Robertson. I think she would have done okay too.
Yeah.
I think they all would have made Casey a little different. I liked how Britt Robertson made Casey maybe a little more neurotic
Okay.
than some of the others would have.
Like when she's trying to figure out what's going on.
I just feel in general,
Yeah.
Casey's not, Britt Robertson's not playing Casey to be, pretty or adorable or whatever. She's just like,
she's a doer.
no nonsense doer, which
Right.
I think she really hammers at home, where I think the others might have tried to play her a little different.
She's an engineer almost. Like she's
Right.
like her father. Her father's an engineer. Yeah. She's, a little bit more advanced in terms of technology and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Right. All right. So I don't have any other really major stuff to talk about. Do you?
I like little touches that the movie does to like hint at other films and stuff like that. It's really a love letter to films that kind of inspiring sci-fi films, like the Alan Grant seatbelt moment with Frank Walker when in the jetpack was clearly an homage to Jurassic Park. Like I said, in the store, all the different sound effects and props. They cast the lit teacher who talks about the Orwell's 1984 book is the doctor from Stargate Atlantis, which he would have just come off of at that point. So
Okay.
I wonder if that's another sci-fi touch.
Maybe.
Just these little sci-fi touches here and there I thought were really, really cool.
I know the
And
music score
interesting.
pays homage to a lot of older, a lot of less sci-fi movies like Rocketeer, Star Wars, Day the Earth Stood Still, that kind of
That
stuff.
was purposeful because I
Yeah.
did notice a couple of like little touches here and there, like, oh, that's the opening
Yes.
to this and that.
Yeah, the music, the score does have moments of that just to kind of like harken to those. Like I think Star Trek 2, Mr. Destiny, a bunch of stuff.
I noticed when she goes into Frank's house, I think it was the Star Trek, like, like the beginning to the opening theme plays as she goes to the fence. And I'm like, that's the exact same note and time that lingers on. The other thing I noticed that I wanted to point out. So when they go into space and the Eiffel Tower opens up and it's a huge shuttle and then it takes out all of Paris, they killed a lot of people.
They don't kill anybody.
You don't think when that EMP goes off,
It just turns off the electronics.
right? Street lights everywhere going off. Car accidents are happening everywhere.
Please.
Hospitals have lost power. People are
They
dying.
have backup
People
generators.
are dying, Mike. If
They
they
have
had backup generators, there would be
generators.
lights on that cityscape. There are no
You know what?
lights.
Why don't you feed the right wolf, Butler? Okay. 'Cause
Listen, they saved the world, but they killed hundreds.
I didn't
in
kill
Paris.
hundreds of people. Come on. You don't even know if the lights maybe came back on. You don't know if it was just a blip. Maybe they were the cause of the end of the world.
Yeah, thanks for taking the shuttle, guys.
You're real negative sometimes. You know that?
I know what we'll find.
Well, I'm not taking you to Tomorrowland when I get that pen.
Oh.
I better get that pen. That's real, right? All right. So we're done.
All right, cool.
Unless you want to keep going. I mean, we could keep talking.
I had something to say about the pin, but I forget.
That you want one? You can
I do want a pin.
just go to Disney World. I'm sure just trade pins in Disney World.
I'm sure they have a Tomorrowland pin.
There's people walking around Disney World that work there that have, and other people that have giant Ziploc bags of pins, and they're just going around trading pins. Hey, you got this pin? Like, that's all they do. They go to Disney World and they just trade pins. I got no time for that.
Listen, whatever floats your boat, man.
All right, so that's our thoughts on Tomorrowland. You should check it out if you haven't already. It's I don't know. I like the movie. I would show my children. It's PG. I don't have to worry about any swears cropping up. Listen, we just came off of watching Jumanji: The Next
There
Level,
are
and there
swears.
are a lot of swears in that movie. Like I mean, like, how am I supposed to justify a 78-year-old man, Danny DeVito, at the end going, holy shit, like right at the screen, like just right at the screen. Oh, I'm such a prude.
Oh, come on. Because no one else says that. Your kid's the first time your kids are over here.
Listen. That shit don't happen here.
Stop sheltering your children. Let them out into the world.
Go ahead, swear, kids. Say the F word. Let me give you a couple.
Whoa. You don't let them swear. You punish them if they do. But, I mean, they're going to hear it.
If only it was that easy, Butler. All right, so we're going to wrap up our season 3 next week. Will be our last episode of the season, and then obviously nobody really cares about the seasons. We do.
Whoa, the seasons come with new collectible season shirts.
Oh yes. As for now, the store is open. If you've not visited our website, please do. It's ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com. If you'd like to reach out to us, there's a contact form there. There's a link to the shop there as well. If you would like to just email us, it's ForgottenCinemaPod@gmail.com. We do take suggestions, and we are open to having open dialogues about whatever. But as I was saying, next week we're going to wrap up season 3. We're going to be talking about New Jack City, a movie that I have not seen since it first came out. So it's going to be interesting what I think about it.
Really? It's been that long since you've seen it?
It's been quite
it's been a long time since I've seen it, too.
That movie's like 30 years old.
I know.
I mean, you think about that. I mean, I remember when I came out, everyone was just kind of like, oh, New Jack City, you got to see New Jack City. It's so great. And now it's like 30 years old.
It's got a lot of people in it.
It does have a lot of people in it. No, it's going to be interesting. I'm intrigued as to how
its age
44-year-old Michael will enjoy this movie when he watched it when I guess I was 14, 15. Yeah, it'll be interesting because a lot of the topics probably went right over my head, or I just didn't even, understand it. I mean, I'm sorry. I know that teenagers are super smart nowadays, but back then we weren't.
I was probably 17 when I first watched it.
So you watched it when it was on like home video or something, right?
I watched it on like HBO or Cinemax.
Yeah. So that's next week, New Jack City. And do you have anything you wanted to plug? Or I know we stopped doing plugs, but I don't know why I'm asking that. Screw you. We're not plugging.
I want to plug our podcast.
Well, I just did.
And the store.
I already did. Did that.
If you have not yet purchased your season 1 and season 2 shirts,
please do.
Please do. They're going to go into the vault once we release. I think
with Dumbo.
I'm thinking we haven't really hammered it home, but I'm thinking we do 3 season shirts on the store at the same time, and then as the new ones come out. So once season 4 shirt goes in,
listen, if you haven't gathered it already, Butler is in charge of the merchandise. So I just let him run with that. I don't care. I mean, I do care, but like I don't. I've got a lot of things I got to do.
You just don't care, guys.
I do care. I'm not the one that wanted leggings.
Listen, those leggings sell.
To your girlfriend.
Well, she's the reason they were created.
So obviously you see people that now Butler has put his personal life ahead of Forgotten Cinema in terms of the choices that we make for this podcast. God damn you.
I'm trying to make. I'm here trying to expand the brand.
I thought you were about to say trying to make money. It's like
I am very clear about that on the store page as well.
All right, so that's go to the store, go to the website, check out our old podcast, check out our old episodes. I mean,
we referenced quite a few of them in this episode.
We did. So go back and see what we talk about. Honestly, I don't ever remember what we talk about until the episode comes out because we have such a buffer between the episodes. So I'm experiencing it for the first time as well. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.
So, I once told your predecessor that she was nothing but a combination of ones and zeros. I was wrong. She was much more than that. You are much more than that, too. So, go out there and do what she would have done. Find the ones who haven't given up. They're the future.